introduction. My name is Steve Chappell. I am the Director now of Trading Systems Development here at VectorVest, so a lot of the model portfolios and different kinds of trading systems that you see offered by way of our service have been, or at least had some input from me. Todd Schaefer here as well does yeoman's work, in that regard, but that's kind of my new classification here, is working on new great trading systems that we can put in your hands. On top of that, I do teach the Derby with Glenn. We have a trading room that we do every morning called the Jockey Club. We always have very creative language and terms here at VectorVest. But the Derby is built after the spirit of a horse race. What it does is it takes a lot of the strategies like Glenn showed earlier, say ruler stocks, and it pits them up against all the strategies in VectorVest, because one of the most common questions we ever received from any subscriber at any event was, you guys have all these strategies, they'll pull you over the corner, come over here. What's the best one, what's the holy grail? So the Derby is built to address that, and do it in a scientific way. And there's lots of applications in that regard, and I don't want to spend a lot of time teaching Derby, I suppose. But it was built under that, for that purpose. And so what we do is every day we get together and we look at great trading opportunities by way of either buying complete strategies of stocks or even cherry picking some of the top performers. And it's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of Jockey Club members, I think, in the chat right now, as a matter of fact. So it's a lively bunch. There's some banter, some interaction back and forth. But that's just one of the many things. I've taught every course that we've ever offered, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. So I've been here almost 2 decades. Okay. So the reason I had Glenn click on percent price change, it put my 3 right at the top, made it easy. And Enphase is the top listed stock there. And if anybody has spent any amount of time around me for the last 3 years, you'll know I'm a big proponent of these guys, because I started buying it myself back in February of last year. Okay. And a lot of other folks did as a result of that, because we found it in the Jockey Club. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so as you work your way across there, obviously the price is pretty attractive, coming in at only $37 a share. It is a touch overvalued because you're going to pay a premium for Enphase at this point. Why are you going to pay a premium for Enphase at this point? Because they've had 3 record quarters in a row. One of the things that I found interesting in this last piece of legislation that went through in terms of relief is there's a lot of solar tax credits involved with that, and I think that makes things even more attractive for entities dealing in the solar space. So I think that only adds to the potential for this stock, certainly for the long term. Now, because they're trading at a premium does not mean that they can't go higher, and they likely will. I mean, if the market continues to rally, I think this stock will be poised to be one of the strongest runners. In fact, they were up about 18%. Was it yesterday or the day before?
I believe so.
So there are big buyers there in big ways, even right now. You can see they're up about 6% today. It has the highest RV score of any stock on the list. So what that means is it's got the strongest upside potential of any of the different runners that we have here on this page. Okay, and again, that's a 1 to 3 year time horizon. So it's not just for the short term here and now, but where they're likely to be headed for the next while. So 3 record quarters in a row, that'll start to move that needle on that indicator quite a bit. They do come in with improving safety. It's still a little bit lower on the scale with RS. Remember, these indicators are 0 to 2. However, they're beginning to establish a bit of a track record at this point. And so I like that combination. It's more of an aggressive combination. So, if you're looking for a stock that can really move for you, assuming the market continues to rally here, which may be a big assumption, this could be one of your strongest runners, is what those 2 numbers are implying. The great news, even better, is it hasn't taken off quite yet. Relative timing is coming in just below 1. As it crosses above 1, what does that mean, Glenn?
It means that the stock is in an uptrend, Steve.
There you go. So we're about to hit potential uptrend here, or the beginning of one. And so it's still carrying a hold recommendation, but let's look at the chart on Enphase. All right, so we'll get there in a sec. There we go. All right, perfect. So obviously, as with many stocks, particularly high growth stocks that have shot up and trade at premiums, there's been some considerable downside action on price. You can see the drop coming off the double top there. And what's encouraging with what's happening now, is you're beginning to see, a lot like the stock market itself, you're beginning to see a higher low action. You're also then seeing price butting right up against prior swing high resistance. And so as a trader, looking to take advantage of what can be some explosive growth potential in the share price, I would say a break above, certainly the two upper wicks back there. I don't necessarily like to focus on the wicks as much as the opens and closes of candles, however, is how I've been classically trained. So I do think we're kind of butting up right against resistance now. I would say with a higher stock market tomorrow and a higher open on the stock, it looks pretty attractive at these levels. Your expectation would be, if it's trading right now on forward earnings that is even higher than it was when it hit its peak, the expectation would be, at least in the future, and I'm talking about we got years and years to invest, right? It can certainly get back to those levels if the market will allow for it. So I'm with Jim. I love the buy stop order. I've become less and less of a fan of the limit, but more of a fan of just the pure buy stop order. And I'd put it right above, either the close today by about 12.5 cents, or if you feel more comfortable, the highs of the wicks from the prior swing high, because there's plenty of room to run and there's no reason to rush into a trade. So I'm the long-winded one. I'm going to stop there. There's always more for me to say, but I think I'll just let the guys do the talking now. So
I'll start. Couple of things I like about the stock. 20-day exponential moving average, stock's coming off a low. Moving higher, as Steve mentioned, higher lows. Stock is trending higher. Doesn't have higher highs yet, it'll come. But it is exhibiting higher lows. Above the 20-day, right at resistance. Patrick said crowd mentality. I love the earnings per share. And he's right. Once it breaks above there, what's this next price? Sitting at about 60. Is it 60? Oh, heck, I can't read that. Well, at that price right there, that level of a high, you got some really good upside potential. The stock is bouncing between a sell and a hold, but as it keeps moving higher, hopefully it goes from a hold to a buy. How about being able to ride a stock from a low point up all the way up to a buy and possibly taking out that recent high? That's a great opportunity for an explosive stock. Patrick?
I'd have to see it get confirmation. Back earlier, or the end of last year when they had earnings announcement, you had a similar pattern. It never broke out to the new high and then dropped after the earnings, even though they had a good earnings report. So yeah, I'd have to see it to believe it before I jump on board.
Well, the big green candle is the day after the earnings report.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the
Sure
report
is.
the time before, not that report, the one end of last year.
Here?
Yeah.
That's it. But the stock still, I'm
it came
with
back,
Steve.
yeah.
It sure did. Not only did it come back, it blared back to hit a new high coming into, and then after that earnings, it took up. Why is this happening? Well, what's going on in the market? That's exactly what's going on with the stock. But the stock's earnings is the engine that drives the stock's price higher. You can't deny that over the last 6 months, earnings is definitely moving higher. I'm with that. So I like the pick. And, this is everybody's opinion. I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, sure.
But the earnings kicked in. The stock went up. COVID-19 helped to pull it back down. But even with that, I like that it's still moving up.
Yeah, I listen. I agree. I think, as Steve mentioned, it's the quality of the company. It's what the company does. It's looking at earnings. It always comes down to buying it at the right time. Breaks through that support, you've got a nice level above it.
Or resistance?
You can't argue. Right? What I say, support. I meant resistance. Breaks through that resistance, and the sellers are out of the way. It's a great company, and just buy it at the right time, which would mean above that resistance.
All right. You ready for your next stock?
Sure.
Excellent. Next stock for you is
Qorvo, let's just go to like a 6-month chart here. We don't need all the data per
Gotcha.
se.
That's not Jose Cuervo.
No,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
no,
I just wanted to be sure. 'cause
wow. I
that was
don't know
my new
where your
favorite
mind
stock
is.
If it was.
Oh my goodness. All right.
the
my new favorite stock.
the commentary from the peanut gas. See, I can't see these guys behind me, so who knows what the heck they're doing, you know?
That would be my new favorite.
But no, it's not Jose Cuervo.
All right.
Although, maybe we should look at that next.
Wow, boy, we got to
No.
keep it going.
No, I like Qorvo. You know, this is a 5G stock here, and I'm not going to get into all the details. I'm going to try to keep things fairly down to the nitty gritty on the chart, because I'm going to be talking about a new swing trading course that we've got coming out. And from a swing trading perspective here, again, I like what I see. I even like it more after today's action. We are finally, you know, we're beginning to achieve yet another higher price today. And we're finishing strong on the day. By the way, the Fed minutes just came out not long ago. Is the market still pushing here?
We can check that real quick if
Yeah,
you want.
check it real quick.
636.
Yeah, okay, cool. So let's go back to the chart. Yeah, so here again, wherever the high is today, I put a buy stop order several cents to 12.5 cents above that high, and I'm happy to invest in Qorvo for the future. But even as a swing trade, it sets up very nicely. You have the emergence of uptrend, there's no resistance at this point. Other than we're still kind of in the gap. You know, I don't love that. We're in a little bit of gap action from the descent. But with the higher open, I think it remedies some of that concern. And I'll just leave it at the RT is getting ready to cross above 1, so the emergence of uptrend by the way VectorVest defines it, is also in play, and I'll leave it there. It's all you.
Patrick.
I like the higher RT, confirming the higher low in price, breaking above the, what is that, the 20-day?
Yeah, it's 20-day exponential.
Yeah, a lot of upside potential with that one.
Jim?
Yeah, the same way. Looking at a relative timing that's rising, new highs. Obviously, listen, that drawdown from that recent high is, we know why that happened. So a good quality stock has got every reason to believe it can work its way back up. So sure.
Yeah.
I like with the last point that Steve made, RT's going above 1. That's a very good early indication. Not only that, RT is trending higher along with price trending higher. Put those two together, this is the gas behind the car right here. All right, the gas is pumping up some good high octane. The car is a Porsche and maybe taking off. It's going vroom vroom, and now it's got some good upside to that level of the high. So
Yeah, and just as a final note, just to kind of continue where Patrick left off, I would continue to use the 20 as support to the trade here. You can see that it's been responsive over the last 2 sessions. The dips have bounced off the 20. And if you look back at the chart, as Glenn just started to do, all your peaks and valleys tend to coincide with that average. So I would be looking to continue to elevate my stop here, and I'd put it just a few cents to 12.5 cents below the 20 average. All right, so we ready for the final one?
Yep, which would be Skyworks.
Then I can let you guys have all the fun. All right, so I picked Skyworks because I was going to go ahead and just pick Apple, but I felt that was probably the lowest hanging fruit of the low hanging fruit. If you're going to buy anything these days based upon market action and kind of everything that you're hearing about that's happening around the world, Apple is certainly always going to be, I think, and rightly so, at the top of just about everybody's list. But Skyworks rides their coattails. And while a lot of the information in VectorVest is not as kind to Skyworks as it has been in the past, I think just by nature of riding the coattails of Apple, you can see some pretty explosive price movement here. This was an explosive hot stock picking panel, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was the one that stepped out of the fray. I'm the one that did.
All right. I thought I was in the wrong room for a little while. But what I'm looking at here is very much a similar story. Now, if you're wondering why all of these charts you have stock prices flirting with, in some cases breaking through prior swing high resistance and others just shallowing prior to, it's because that's what the market is doing right now. So this is an assumption, again, that we continue to see higher prices in the stock market. The only way to get off the ground in a trade, living by that standard, is to have something like VectorVest, to continue to see a green light in the price column, to continue to see the futures higher, to continue to see the stock market opening higher, and then floating the buy stop order out there, and trying to catch a good fill on a stock that's likely to break prior swing high resistance, and at the end of the day, likely to give you a higher magnitude return than Apple because of the fall and the collapse. So the interesting thing here, somebody was talking about Head and Shoulders earlier. I actually did a webcast with Brian Overby over at Ally Invest. He's their lead option strategist, and he does a webcast every Tuesday. The name is escaping me right now, but I did some work with him, and Skyworks was my pick short, and it was because of a Head and Shoulders pattern. So here you have left shoulder, higher peak to a head, right shoulder. And we were going to take advantage of this thing as it broke through. So draw a line from the low of the first shoulder, the armpit, to the low of draw a line, like a freehand.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And draw it to the next one. And the way that you trade this Head and Shoulders pattern would be when price violates the midpoint of that drawn line, which essentially coincides. You see the gap? We weren't the only ones looking at this. So as traders became aware that that was going to occur, look at how fast price followed through and dropped. Okay. So actually, it also shows you kind of change in tune. I was very bearish on this stock just a couple of months ago, and now I've changed my tune, and I give it back to you, Mr. Tompkins.
All right. So as we get ready to go into the next set of stocks, if you are new here, please subscribe to the channel. We recently reached the level of 10,000 subscribers, and we're still growing it. So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Very important. That's how we get these to get better. All right. You guys support us, and we're going to continue to bring you that information. And actually, before Steve goes on, he wants to talk about something else as well.
Yeah, a couple things. One question was, can you explain buy stop order? And I think that can be useful to everybody that's in the room.
Okay.
So the buy stop order is an order that you would instruct to a broker that says, stop buying at this price or below. So in essence, it allows you to put an order out there at a certain price where you're only willing to buy a stock if it goes higher than the price you specify. So a lot of times the best way to position yourself into a trade and try to ensure that the stock is doing what you expect and follow through is to take a close or a high price for a day and put a buy stop above it, ensuring that you'll only buy the stock if it goes not only above the price that the stock closed at or the high for the day, but even a little bit more to make sure that you're getting good momentum behind you. Okay, so hopefully that clears that up. And then, yes, I do have something to talk about. Jerry D'Ambrosio and I are going to be teaching a new course here at VectorVest. And if you could go to the first page there, the one that has the listing of all the courses, let's point it out. So when you go to vectorvest.com/events, right, it takes you to this page here. The live events are at the very top. The second one down is called Precision Swing Trading 6-session webcast. This will be live. We're going to do a new course here. And so for benefit of you guys for being here today, what this amounts to is we're going to give you a special deal. I know Jerry just did a webcast alerting people to this new course, I think at noon today. And we're going to extend the same offer to you folks here as well. Right now on the website, there's a very special radio button that Glenn is pointing to right now called the Buy Now bonus. This will only be up there, I can only guarantee until midnight tonight. We are going to be doing several webcasts throughout the next week or so. So it might be back up here sporadically. But I can only guarantee midnight tonight. It's another $100 off. It's $495 for the course. You're going to get Jerry and I for
6 weeks.
6 weeks for more than an hour each week. And we're going to be detailing some very, very robust swing trading methodologies. We're going to be doing some things that we haven't done yet. We're going to be looking at chart patterns, triangles, pennants, flags, along with some very popular technical analysis indicators and definable trading setups. So it's going to be a great class. I can promise you that. And if you're interested, all you got to do is go to vectorvest.com/events, click on the second one there called Precision Swing Trading. And if you didn't get your fill of me today, you're going to get a lot more there.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Now, if you're new to the software or would like refresher information about the software, click on this Getting Started video right here. Thanks to all of your input, here's a YouTube video that we think would be perfect for you. Click right here. If nothing else, folks, just hit the subscribe button right here.